Hello and welcome to Inside Rangers. I'm Matthew Temple.
And I'm Duka Dobman. And coming up on today's show with an exclusive interview with QPR Academy Director Alex Carroll.
We also speak to first team player Luke Amos on his recent injury.
And then we catch up with two of the QPR under-18 players, Lorent Talla and Harry Murphy.
And then QPR legend Andy Sinton gives us a lowdown on Forever Ours.
And then we bring back our under-18 players at the end of the show and give them a quiz and see what they know about their club.
Now to our first story, where William Carruthers caught up with the QPR Academy Director Alex Carroll on the brand new training ground and the exciting prospects that it's producing.
What are the main aims for the new training ground?
I think that the first aim is to get everyone under the same roof, bring the first team to Heston. The academy are currently based at Heston now, so the first team are down the road at Harlington. So the first aim is to bring everyone over and house everyone together, develop a culture which helps the club to achieve its aims, and certainly selfishly from an academy perspective, to be working in an environment which produces more and more young players for the first team.
You mentioned aims and successes with development. What are they?
So the club has got sort of 5 key parts to its mission, really. So I've just alluded to a couple of them, but one is to produce more homegrown players for the first team. Then the rest are to grow the fan base, to increase revenue coming into the club, to be competitive in every match, and to facilitate change in the local community. And I think that the transition of the club into its own purpose-built training ground at Heston will allow it to continue to strive to do better in all of those areas. To be honest, I think there'll be avenues to explore for all of them. Some probably slightly more obvious than others, but even if we're looking at from a community perspective, ways in which we can engage with the community in Hounslow and help to run programs through the facilities that are at the training ground as well. So there's lots to achieve, lots of possibilities.
What figure equals success to you with players integrating from the academy to the first team?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think it changes from year to year. So when there are a lot of changes brought in sort of in and around the time that Les Ferdinand came in as director of football in late 2014. At that stage, there hadn't been many academy graduates in the team in recent years, and certainly none that had gone in and consistently played. If we look back over the last 5 years, we are really pleased that there's actually been 21 debuts made in the first team by academy developed players, and 6 of those players have gone on to play at least 40 games in the first team. So they've gone in, but they've not made one sort of sub appearance off the bench in a cup fixture. They've actually consistently played for a period of time, and then either gone on to continue contributing to our squad or gone to play elsewhere at higher levels. So those are sort of the numbers that we've had in recent years. And as we look forward, we just want to try and enhance those year on year. To be honest, clearly will change depending on where the club are kind of standing at any one time. And if you look at this season as an example, there's a real push to try and succeed in the championship, and with that has come some clever recruitment, which might mean actually, as an example, this season slightly more difficult for a young player to break into that team. But then as we move forward, we're always looking to increase the number year on year.
Why is the new training ground only being built now? Why not start a few years ago?
I think we'd have liked to have started this process probably earlier than 2018, to be honest. It's been ongoing. The club have been looking for a site to acquire and to make their own for a number of years. So I've been at the club since 2014. When I joined, it was Warren Farm that was the project that was looking like it was going to happen. Unfortunately, just due to, endless legal challenges, it just made that scheme one that wasn't possible to fulfill. So we've always had the plan to create our own training ground, and it was only until Heston became available when it was being sold by Imperial College that actually there was sort of another option, and it's just taken us a little while to get the relevant planning permission in place now. But thankfully everything's good to go, and we've got work started on the pitches, and it's given everyone an enormous lift just as well. But we're here now.
QPR are currently a Category 2 Elite Players Performance Plan Academy.
So it will certainly give us the option to apply to become a Category 1 club. At the moment, we're really, really happy with the way in which we function as a Category 2. I guess on the face of it, when you hear Cat 1 versus Cat 2, the assumption is that Cat 1 is always better. I think for us, we speak about the importance of our software, so our people. Hardware is important as well because it helps to attract players and staff to work somewhere, but it's actually the people that delivering the program that are the most important. So in my eyes, we have lots of Cat 1 staff, but just operating in Cat 2 or stretching it, to be honest, Cat 2 facilities. For us, it will give us an opportunity to apply for Cat 1 if we feel it's the right thing to do at that moment, but it wasn't the driver.
Eberichi Eze left QPR a few seasons ago now. Are there any other Starlets in the QPR Academy?
I would say, I wouldn't want to highlight any of the ones in the background in the academy at the moment. I think that would be unfair to the rest of the groups. But I think that the boys who are, consistently featuring in matchday squads at the minute have got a great chance of helping us get to the Premier League. So Ilias Chair followed halfway through our our under-23 setup before heading on loan to Stevenage and then breaking into the first team. Ilias is clearly contributing week in, week out for the first team at the moment. He's in and amongst the goals, both for QPR and for Morocco. So clearly high hopes for him. If he doesn't reach the Premier League with QPR, then I'm sure he may have opportunities elsewhere to do that.
What will morale be like amongst the academy now, knowing they will be training in the same complex with players like Ilias Chair?
It'll be enormous, to be honest. To be able to see the first team will be an improvement.
Really good to hear from William Carruthers there, interviewing Academy Director Alex Carroll, and really good to hear that QPR are trying to find that next Ilias Chair, the next Eberichi Eze with this new training ground.
Absolutely. As you said, Eberichi Eze, what a player. He's gone on to Crystal Palace in a big move. He's definitely lit up the Premier League, but has suffered with that long-term injury. Very similar to Luke Amos, actually, who Katie Dearling caught up with.
Amos takes!
My name's Luke Amos.
And Amos scores!
I'm a midfielder. I play for QPR. I spent my youth team days going through the ranks at Tottenham Academy, under 18s, under 23s. I spent some time on loan. I spent a few months at Stevenage and a few months at Southend in League 2 and League 1. And that's got me to where I am today.
What are your thoughts on the new QPR training facilities? Obviously, everyone being trained together.
I think it's very important for everyone, obviously the academy and also the first team. I feel like to get to the top level, it starts from what you do every day. So that's day-to-day training, and having the facilities to do that will definitely help us get to the next level. Plus for the academy boys too, when it's easier for players to then make that transition to the first team because they can see what the first team are doing. And also, let's say there's a quick injury in the first team, the academy already there. You don't have to worry about bringing them all the way across from the other players. So it's important for everyone, and I think it gives clubs the edge having everything you need in one place.
Is it more you all train separately but in the same facilities, or is training sort of mixed?
So at the minute we got so obviously the first team, we're based here, and then the B team are based here too, but they don't use the inside that much. They're more just walking around us, and then the Heston is where the 23s and the 18s are based. I went there for the first time the other day just for training when I was coming back from my rehab. So it would be nice if everyone was together. It's not like, I like interacting with the younger players as well, just seeing how they're getting on. I take interest in their journey because we're all on our own little journey. So it'd be nice if they were around too.
And then you just said that it helps them progress into the first team. And obviously that's really important. Is that something that is going to happen a lot? Or are you thinking like they could go then spread out somewhere else?
That comes down to performance, I guess. But if they're within the eye of the first team staff, the gaffer, it gives them the best opportunity. Obviously, sometimes it's a case of out of sight, out of mind a little bit. If they're over there, they're not really being seen. But as I said, if someone's got a little injury, all of a sudden someone can quickly come across. It's not like they're 10 minutes up the road. I mean, that's how careers start sometimes. Sometimes you just need that little bit of luck, and then who knows? Then
you obviously spent your academy days at Tottenham, and then you went to a few other places. Can you compare that to QPR's academy? If obviously you're not obviously in the academy, but can you compare it? Because obviously Tottenham's quite a big club. Well, I think we went through the same thing. So I remember when I was
I joined under 10s, and from under 10s till like under 14s, it was the first team at one place and the academy somewhere else. And then when they built the new training ground in Enfield, everyone come together, and then you see, like, of course, the facilities you have allow you to be the best player you can be, but just seeing like the first team, like they're over the fence, you know what you're trying to achieve. It's like you can physically see it, and I feel like it'll be the same here a little bit at the minute. Obviously, the academy's not here, but when they're based here, it's like, the first team's just there. I know I work hard, like I can get there. So it's similar, really. And in terms of making that transition to first team football, wherever you are, whether you're at Tottenham or QPR or Stevenage, it's always that bridge to cross. So and that comes through, like, obviously working hard, a bit of luck, but you definitely need to be in the right place at the right time. And I think having everyone together sometimes allows that to happen more easily. And
you've just said that them being able to see you, it will obviously inspire them. How important is this for the club to kind of grow?
I think it's massive because obviously QPR is a London club too, and the competition in London is enormous. Like even just where we are, West London, there's two or three other clubs. So it's definitely tough to create the best players to come through. So if you can, the players that you have here, if you can make them the hungriest and let them know if they do well here, they have a chance, then I think that helps make more players.
We're just going to go on to a few questions about your career, if that's okay. So you've obviously just come back from an injury. You ruptured your ACL, and that's obviously quite a big injury. How was coming back into training, playing games? You've obviously done a few starts as well.
It was a tough journey. Obviously now I'm glad to be back training every day and playing, but I think I'm just trying to enjoy it. Just trying to enjoy every day that comes. Get like the memories on like my phone of what I was doing this time last year. Last year, I was getting my stitches out. So it was like two and a half weeks after my operation. So for today to be outside, the sun shining, to be playing football, to doing what I love to do, like, I can't really complain.
So what has your time at the club been like? Because obviously you are at loan from Tottenham.
It's been up and down. So obviously I signed. So my first year was after my first. So I tore my ACL on both knees. So my first year was on loan from Tottenham. So that was sort of coming back from injury, just trying to get a feeler. I played quite a few games. Done enough the club wanted to bring me back permanently. So then last summer I made the switch here permanently. Then I felt like, okay, I've had my taste of the Championship. Now it's time to kick on. I started the first 5. And all of a sudden I've done this one. And then you lose another year and it's okay, now I'm really trying to like make up for lost time. But there's like a load of new players that are coming and stuff. So I'm just trying to just refine my quality, get back on my feet and hopefully get back into the team. But we'll see how that goes.
Where do you see your career going in your future?
Well, what I've learned is that it doesn't even matter what you think of, like what you think or what you plan, is what will happen. If you work hard, like obviously having 2 ACLs, I don't want to look too far ahead in the future. I sort of want to like just enjoy each day as it comes, just playing football, working hard. And like I know I'm a good player, I'm at my best, so I'll get to where I'll get to, like through hard work and all that stuff. So I guess we'll see. Of course I have dreams and goals and aspirations, but it's just take each week and each game as it comes for me right now.
And finally, to end off, what would you say has been your career highlight so far?
I think it has to be like making my Premier League debut. That's something that you dream of as like a kid, like your whole life. Think, do you know how many millions of kids have that dream of playing in the Premier League? If it's 1 minute, 90 minutes, and it's something that I actually managed through like my hard work. It was up and down. Like I went to League One, didn't play, went to League Two. Then 6 months later, from playing in League Two, I'm walking onto the pitch at St James's Park in the Premier League, like on Sky. So that was quite a surreal experience. Yeah, so that is definitely my proudest moment.
Cool. Now you're at QPR, which is obviously the best club in London. So from a QPR fan. Anyway, thank you so much.
It was good speaking to you.
It was really good there to hear from Queen's Park Rangers first team player Luke Amos, who caught up with Katie Dearling about his recent injury, that ruptured ACL. But it's good to see him back. He's already got 9 appearances this season and hopefully he can keep that going.
100%, and on the topic of getting into the first team, Jay Rana caught up with 2 of the under-18 players, Harry Murphy and Lorent Talla, and about their prospects of hopefully getting into that elusive first team one day.
Yeah, my first question for both of you is, how were you scouted for QPR and how long have you been at the club?
So for me, I was scouted playing my Sunday League team when I was about 10 years old. So obviously the scouts just come to watch me for a couple of weeks. And then got in contact, and then in the next couple of weeks, and I come down to have a trial. And then since then I've been signed. So I've been signed at QPR now for 7 years.
For me, I was at Brentford before this, Brentford Academy, from the age of 6 till about 12. And when they shut down, I think QPR was my second trial. I had interest from some other clubs, but I thought QPR was the best for my pathway. So I think I've been here for about 4 years now.
So like you're saying, you've both been here for a time. So describe your journey. What's it been like? How's it feel with your other teammates, your coaches and everything around the club?
For me personally, I've really enjoyed it, being in the football environment, especially now, as in like we're playing football full time. We come in every morning and train. I enjoy like being around my teammates and stuff, but because I've been here for so long, it's hard because obviously your teammates, like some come and go. So there's probably only a few of us that have been here for that long. So obviously you make some new friends and obviously you might have to see some go as well. But no, I've really enjoyed the experience and yeah, hopefully I can continue with it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it as well. So obviously I came from Brentford, which was quite different to here. There we focused on winning games from a young age, but here it was more about the individual and the set plan for the individual, which I really enjoy because we might not always win games, but the fact that it's all about individual and developing individually, I think it really suits us as players because we don't have the stress of winning every game, winning. It's about us developing as players and as individuals.
What's your life like a bit outside of football? So can you tell us something maybe that you enjoy doing in your spare time and that sometimes provides a nice escape from sports?
So for me, it would be a bit different to Lorent because I stay in digs because originally I'm from East London. So from Monday to Friday, I stay in digs with another player of mine. So when I'm there, I'm kind of just like chilled out, just get on with my coursework, watch some Netflix, play PlayStation, that sort of thing. And then on the weekends, I like sort of hanging out with my friends because obviously I don't get to see them all week. So I quite like seeing my family and friends. So that's what I kind of do when I'm not at football. And obviously I spend a lot of time with my brother. So I've got a twin brother. So, me and him, we get on. So, yeah.
For me, I'm at home, so I'm not in digs. I think it's quite similar to when I was at school, what I do in terms of when I'm not playing football. I think just hanging out with my mates, my brother especially. And I think it's quite similar. We're here most of the day, but when I go home, I like to spend time with my family and friends.
Now, if we're talking about this season, the side's form hasn't been the greatest of yet, but I guess you're just coming off the back of a good win against Watford. So could you describe the team morale at present and could you give me something you're working on to improve ahead?
For me, right now, obviously, the team's just won on Saturday, so obviously everyone's quite buzzing, but I think it's quite important not to get sort of too ahead of ourselves because I think keeping sort of a level head is really important because then we might go into our next game this weekend, being complacent and stuff. But, we work with like the club psychologists and stuff who, suggest ways to sort of stay, not sort of get too low, not sort of get too high, to sort of stay in the middle. So that will help us with our future games when we're doing well or when we're not doing so well.
For me, I think the building is quite a good one. I think obviously so I'm a first year scholar and us coming up with the second years now, it's taken some time for us to kind of adapt to each other and know our strengths and weaknesses and learn a bit more about each other around the building. For me, I've had a long-term injury, so I haven't really been able to play this season, but I'm hoping to recover within the next few months and get back to it.
Both of you at such a young age, doing really well. So tell me a bit about your plans and ambitions for the future and how would you look to achieve them?
So for me in the future, obviously I'm 17 now. So within the next few years, I want to sort of be hopefully in a first team environment, whether that be at QPR or not, whether it's out on loan. I think getting some experience within a first team would be really good. Like I can do that through continuing to work hard, listen to my coaches and just sort of develop my game understanding so that I can go to that next level.
For me, within the next few years, the same. I think everyone here, we all want to be first team players, but I think making that step as soon as possible is crucial. And I think for me, within the next few years, coming back from injury, first of all, but then going on to really push on maybe 23's first team in my second year scholar.
Are there any players you look up to maybe, and they could be from the first team or any other inspirations, and why?
So for me, from QPR's first team, I look up to Ilias Chair because we both play in a similar position, and obviously he sort of come through the academy in the 23s. So I think it just shows that the pathway is there if we work hard and perform well, because at the end of the day, sort of he was in my shoes not too long ago.
I think with me it's the same, but Abiri Eze as well. I think he's come through the academy as well, and he's gone on to now be a Premier League footballer. So it just shows that there is an opportunity here at QPR if you are good enough, and there is an opportunity to move and to make your dream come true of being a professional footballer and playing at the highest level.
And last question for both of you. If you could give yourself a message, so now, to motivate your future self and potentially other youth prospects like yourself, what would you say?
For me, I'd say sort of don't rest on your laurels. So that means that when you're playing well, you can't just sort of sit back and relax, because then other people catch up to you. So it's all about sort of continuing to work hard regardless of how you're playing, so that you keep improving and developing.
I think for me it would be to stay in the present, not think too far ahead, not get too carried away with stuff happening good, and not letting failure get to me. So not being scared to fail, not being scared to try new things, because that ultimately will make you a better player.
Really good to hear from the under-18 players at QPR who Jay Rana interviewed, and really good to see that hopefully they've got the prospects of getting into that first team one day.
Well, absolutely, and I have seen that the under-23s have actually played a couple of games at the Kiyan Prince Foundation Stadium, so they're already getting those minutes at the main stadium alongside first team players, so hopefully that can continue.
100%, but moving on to our next story, Katie Dealing speaks to Andy Sinton all about his career and Forever Ours.
You obviously went back to QPR around 6 years ago, and then obviously Forever Ours is now on its 5th year anniversary, and you were one of the first few members. Why was that important for you to get involved in it?
When I went back there, being a former player myself, I think you play for certain clubs, you do well for certain clubs, you don't do well for certain clubs, as the case may be. I think when you represent the club, you build up an affinity and a love, and you've just enjoyed your time. Then almost once you've finished your career, you hardly hear from that football club again. Some players quite like that. But when I went into QPR, I used to say, why don't we get former players back more often? Over a decade ago, lost their way a little bit and what they were, got away from the family-orientated club. So with the media guys who are involved with the club, we came up with this idea where we wanted to get back in touch with former players and make them want to get back in touch with us and feel they belong to the QPR family for what they achieved. So when the idea was put to me, I was all for it, and I really, from a personal point of view, I've really thrown my weight behind it and really enjoy it. And I see the uplift it gives to certain players, certainly the older ones, wanting to speak to them and reminiscing and ask them to sign autographs. Special again, albeit maybe just for a day. We look after them as a club, we put them in our hospitality areas with their families. So we look after them. We feel really, really well. And what's special, we get them on the pitch at halftime where announces the player and they walk out, and to see them receive a stand of ovation. And I think it's been a real success over the 5 years. And
the first few people introduced, obviously like yourself, Bess Ferdinand, Stan Bowles, and now you're getting players such as Jamie Mackie, and I know Bobby Zamora's on there as well. How far do you think it has come? Because I'm just saying, I'm a Rangers fan. I have been my whole life. So seeing like Bobby Zamora at Wembley, now onto that Forever Ours, and seeing Jamie Mackie, they're like my players that I've grown up watching. So how far do you think it's come from when like Stan Bowles was introduced to like now when Jamie Mackie's come in?
Well, it's, we've got a couple of little bits of criteria. First of all, to be inducted into Forever Ours, you have to have retired from playing. So that's the first rule, if you like. You have to have retired. The newer boys, the likes of Jamie Mackie, Clint Hill, Akos Bazaki, they'll be fresh in your memory because you're a younger fan. But we go all the way back to, I think Brian Bedford's probably our oldest inductee, and he was 84. Now Brian scored 200 odd goals for the club, and fantastic striker. So we inducted him when he was 80. Mark Lazarus, who scored the winner when we won the League Cup in '67. Mark comes back regular now. So we go back as far as we can. We'll keep going. There's still many, many people on the list that we want to induct. We want to get back. So we're probably waiting on a UK visit to try and tie it up. So there's still many that are worthy of being inducted on the list. I think we've inducted probably 115 players, coaches, managers. Sadly, 15 of those are no longer with us, but it's really important to recognise that. As recently as 3 weeks ago, we did George Petrie and Keith Rutter, who between them played 630 odd games for the club. So we invited their families back just in recognition of their time at the club.
If there is any, who would you like to put on the list or see on the list?
Who could we say? We're asked about players such as Roy Wegerle, Dave Bardsley, Terry Fennick, names such as that we'd love to see on the list, but they're, as I alluded to earlier on, they're the ones who live thousands and thousands of miles away. Recently, we've got plans to bring Heider Helgeson back. Paddy Kenny's going to be coming back soon. So you know what? There's so many to get back. Not for the lack of trying, but we'd love to get Webby back. Players, Gary Bannister. Fans will tell us who they'd like to see back, but sometimes they don't understand the complexities of getting the likes of Dave Bardsley or Roy Wegerle back from Miami. Or Rodney spent a bit of time in the UK a couple of years ago. We couldn't get him to the game, so I went to meet him personally and did almost a private induction with him, and so little things like that. We'll do all that we possibly can. But sometimes it's not easy, but we try.
This is more about your career. So I'm not sure if you're aware, you probably are, that you were the first person to score on Sky Sports on Monday Night Live when that first
I was.
came out. How was
I'm
that
well aware of
for
that. Little did we know when we ran out, it was Main Road at the time at Man City, that Monday night with cheerleaders and fireworks. That was the start of Sky's influence. And if you had said to us in 92 or 93, whenever it was, 30 odd years time, this is what the game's going to be like. I would have said you were joking sort of thing, but no, that night was special. We knew something was changing in the game of football. And we were delighted, in those days, you're delighted whenever you were on live TV individually. It's a chance to showcase how good your team was, the way we played. It's probably my most famous goal at Queen's Park Rangers, yes.
Retired in 2005,
yeah,
correct? Then you went into management. How was that change? Because I know most players do try and do that.
It was different. As a player, I'll say this, players can be quite, in nature, you'll be quite selfish. And as a player, you basically just got to look after yourself. As a manager, you're looking after 25, 26, if you include the staff, 30 odd individuals who've all got different characters, have all got different problems, just like, footballers are humans. You've got to be looking out for everyone and watching and making sure each and every player is taken under your wing, if you like, to a degree. Some players need an arm around the shoulder, some need a kick of the backside. It's just the same as work in life, So as a manager, you suddenly found that it was, as a player, you used to train, get home. As a manager, it's 24/7. You're probably first into the training ground or the ground or the office, you're last away. That was the biggest. And bearing in mind, I went into non-league, which many senses could be harder actually, because you don't have the support network around you. You had to do everything yourself.
Obviously, we've spoken about the goal and we've spoken about you going into management, but it could be that if you want it to be, but what would you say was your career highlight on anything that you've done?
Oh, without a doubt, being selected to play for your country. And that's what it was then. It's just a dream, but I was one of those, fortunately, I can sit back and I was one of those very, very few tiny minority of people who, my dream came true. If you had said to me as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, growing up in Newcastle, 12, 13 years' time, you're going to pull on the white shirt of England, you're going to play against Brazil twice, you're going to play at Wembley, you're going to play in a major tournament for your country. Still, when you sit back and actually think about it, and we went to the England-Wales game. I was doing a bit of corporate work, and as the players come out and stood and the national anthem played, I'd never really thought about it beforehand. And as the anthem was playing, and it was so loud, the fans were singing it, my lad Joe nudged me and he went, "Dad, you've done that." And when he said that, I thought, wow, yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, because it's basically your job. What an achievement. So had some great achievements, played for some great clubs, but if I had to say one thing, categorically, 100% being selected to play for your country is the best thing ever.
Really good to hear from Andy Sinton, who was interviewed by Katie Dearling, talking to us all about his career and Forever Ours.
Indeed it was. Now, to end the show, let's finish with a quiz as we bring back both of our under-18s, Lorent, Talla and Harry Murphy, as we test their Rangers knowledge.
QPR won their first trophy in the 1966 and 67 season. But what trophy did they win?
We're going to go with the FA Cup.
Unfortunately, it was the League Cup.
Unlucky with that one, guys. Unlucky. It's all right. It's first question. Okay, so number 2. Who has the most goal contributions this season for QPR so far?
Ilias Chair.
That is correct. Well done.
Yes.
Well done, lads. Bobby Zamora scored that infamous goal in the 2014 playoff final against Derby County. But in what minute did he score? Whoever guesses the closest out of you two or gets it spot on with wins the point.
I think this actually can go down to the second if you want to be that accurate.
Can go down to the second.
Go for the 90th minute, dead on.
90 plus second minute.
I can confirm the first answer is the correct one. It was 89th minute and 50 seconds, so only 10 seconds off. So not a bad guess at all.
Not bad.
Very impressive. Okay, then question number 4. Which former QPR Academy graduate currently plays for Crystal Palace?
Birayeze.
Well done. Yeah, I think you both were going to get that one quite easy, weren't you?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We'll go on to question number 5. I expect you both to get this one. Which player wears the number 11 shirt for QPR?
Charlie Austin.
Yeah, well done. There we go.
Yeah.
Nice one. You got a bit of rhythm going now, I think, haven't you, guys?
Yeah,
right.
Good form.
Yeah, indeed. Question number 6. What position did QPR finish in last season?
8th.
Oh, you guys are so close. Can't believe you're 1 out, 9th.
Almost.
Unlucky. That's very close, though.
Right, we'll move on to the final question of the quiz. QPR's game against Luton Town. What was the score the last time the two teams met?
Was it 2-2?
It was not. It was not 2-2. I'll give you a final guess, though. I'll give you one more guess.
Was it 2-0?
Unfortunately not. It was 3-1 to QPR.
Almost.
I mean, at least with your second guess, at least you know that you won.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys for playing. I think you did quite well there, actually. I think you got most of the questions right. So you definitely know a lot about your teammates. So I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, it seems the two under-18 players, Lorent, Talla and Harry Murphy, knew a lot about the players at QPR. But when it came to the results, they were none the wiser.
Well, yes, that is very true. Although at least they knew they were on the winning side against Luton Town last season.
Exactly. But that's all we've got time for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. I've been Duka Dogma.
And I've been Matthew Temple. Thank you very much for joining us.